is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis coming to you with a quick video. I wanted to let you guys know I got some new merchandise available, not just t-shirt anymore. I got different type of t-shirt, different type of shirts and logos that you can purchase on my spread shirt, and also hoodies now. We have expanded and added more to the channel and more merchandise for the brand. Thanks for supporting. It will be in the description and the links will be in the comment section below. Thanks for helping me and supporting the movement. Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis. I'm going to check out the video. What's good, YouTube? Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis coming to y'all with a quick video. We're going to talk about the Phoenix Suns, the last team in this division. This is a team that a lot of people want to see how much progress they make, how much better they get under a new coach. No more Igor, who I personally believe the players wasn't behind. Anyway, they didn't play the same way. This was one of the worst teams in the entire NBA. They played like it. They was very uncoordinated. They didn't execute. They didn't play really any defense. Their offense was just Devin Booker or bust, letting him make plays and taking a lot of tough shots. It got to the point where they just started letting Devin Booker score a bunch of points because they had nothing else to look forward to because it was so bad. And even when Devin Booker scored those points, they were losing those games too. So it shows you how bad and how terrible the Suns have been. I think that they're in a better spot right now, but it's mainly because a lot of their additions. I feel like Deandre Ayton, that was a pick that they finally got right. A player that's a quality NBA player, a quality starter. Did I think they had to go with a big man? No, but Ayton is not a terrible player. His ability to knock down mid-range, his ability to roll to the rim, finish, be a decent free throw shooter, being a decent rebounder. He became a solid defender by the end of the season. But they do have the outside with Devin Booker. They wanted to fill that position, and they feel that Ayton was a great fit, and Ayton can really do some big things for them in the future. I mean, he put up some decent numbers. He showed that he can be a little up and down, a little inconsistent, but most rookies are. But he also showed that he can be a guy that can get you 20 and 10 almost every game. A question that a lot of people say, and a lot of people have been saying, is that enough though? Because we live in the NBA where you don't need a big man to be a championship team. We done seen that with Cleveland having Tristan Thompson. We've seen that with Golden State having Bogut and having JaVale McGee. We done seen that even with Marc Gasol. He wasn't the same Marc Gasol, but he mattered, but he wasn't a dominant offensive force, and Kawhi Leonard and them was able to win. So the big man has been diminished, even on the All-Star ballot. Some people even arguing to do it on All NBA. It shows you the lack of dominant big man, and it shows you that big man really don't impact the game when it comes to winning championships. Most of the game is won by wings. Most of the game is won by guards. And you need those to win. And when they went with Ayton, some people said Doncic. Some people said they probably was even off better using Trae Young with Devin Booker than using DeAndre Ayton. But Ayton has a lot to live up to when you the number one pick, and a lot of people feel like you got a great body, you have the athleticism, you have the touch. Filling out the rest of his game should be easy to me because they have been one of the worst teams, and he's going to have a long time in the offseason to work on this game like he did this year because they didn't even come close to making it to the playoffs. But I like Ayton. I don't know if I feel like he can be a championship player. I don't know any big man. You got Anthony Davis, you got Joel Embiid, you got Jokic, but none of those guys we were saying are serious contenders. Anthony Davis was a guy that a lot of people felt like going to LA. They not even the favorites. And you look at a team like the Clippers, they don't even have a dominant big man at all. So we're gonna have to do a wait and see with DeAndre Ayton how well he gets. Is he gonna be able to stretch his shot out? Is he going to be able to be a dominant inside interior lockdown defender like we see Gobert, or even a Miles Turner where he's a respectable defender that can really make a big impact? But we also want to see, can his offensive game develop more? He's a marginal offensive player, but he's also smart enough to know what he can and he can't do, and he gravitates to the small things that he can do, and that's a positive, especially when you got a guy like Devin Booker who's still learning how to make plays, still learning when to pass, trusting his teammates. And I feel having a guy like Ayton gives him a guy that he respects and can come to the game and bring some good games with him. He had some great games this season. It just fluctuated a little bit too much, and he just didn't have the mindset of being able to take over. He just didn't have the ability to demand the ball so that way he can get his. And I think that, like I said all last year, Ayton needs to get that mentality that I can be dominant. I feel like he coasted. I feel like some games he was there and he wasn't. But I feel like if he really wants to live up to that number one pick, if he really want to be the best player in this draft, his mentality has to change drastically. He's very cool, calm, and laid back, which is fine. But when you're trying to win games, when you're trying to make the playoffs, when you're trying to close games, you need to have a mentality that nobody can guard me, nobody can stop me, and I can do whatever I want to anybody that's there. Even if you double team me, I can make the right play. And he just doesn't have that mentality right now. But as he continues to develop, maybe he'll get it when he gets more confidence or you see the work he put in paying off. But other than that, Ayton is a little far away from being a big difference maker on the championship team or even being an all-star right now. But I do think Ayton will be an all-star. You're getting paid $9 million already. So his salary only going to go up, but he's going to live up to it. Devin Booker actually is not that much older than Deandre Ayton, so they're around the same age group. But Devin Booker has been spectacular. I know his defense is terrible. I know his three-point shot went down, but his assists and his points went up. And it seems like he is a guy that can carry you to W's when it counts, when he has better teammates in the future. His ability to get his shot off, make difficult shots, and his ability to make plays and becoming a better playmaker has just a high upside for a guy that's only 22. He has legitimate size for that shooting guard position, and he has continued to develop each year. And I think that this year won't be no different. I like Mikal Bridges. I feel like they should have started him a little earlier, but I know they had a lot of guys they wanted to try out, and they had veterans in front of him. But Bridges brings energy. He brings effort. He has good hands. He gets a lot of steals. He plays great defense for a rookie, and he is a legitimate 6'7". I think Mikal Bridges is a decent player, but I still want to see him evolve offensively, and that was one of his problems in Villanova, not really showing the offensive dominance. He's a guy that's a top 10 pick, but he looks like he's just going to be a 3-and-D guy, which isn't terrible, and it does fit what DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker need. But at the same time, when you're a guy like Mikal Bridges, you should want to get better. If he does become an Otto Porter at worst, that's not a bad thing. But I think they're going to need a lot more than that from him if they want to be a serious team in the West in the future. Javon Carter is a solid backup point guard, plays good defense, very pesky, and he's a guy that can run the offense and make smart decisions. I think he is a solid player for them and a wise player at the same time. You look at Cameron Johnson, known as a shooter, great size, can give them some stretch 4 minutes, can also knock down a lot of threes. Tyler Johnson, I think he's just going to be on this team. I think he can play some point. I think he can give them some quality minutes, but he's not a part of the long-term big picture. Frank Kaminsky, this was a pickup that a lot of people didn't understand because he's not a great rim protector, not a great rebounder, and he's not the best offensive player, but he also can be a versatile offensive player depending on what lineups and what players are out there. Plus, he can stretch out the floor, knock down threes, post up a little bit, and knock down some mid-range. But he's just a role player at best. You look at Kelly Oubre, he got paid. He's still a solid player. He had one of his best seasons ever, if not his best season playing with Phoenix. He showed a lot of promise being a decent, versatile scorer, being able to get to the paint, knock down some floaters, knock down some threes. I think $15 million is a lot of money for him, considering that he's not even close to being an all-star player. But at the same time, he's a player that showed more progress with Phoenix than with Washington, and it seems like they need him and they feel like they can get the best out of him, and they did. It just, can he continue to build upon that season? He right around DeAndre, and he's right around Booker age, and he's actually the same age as Mikal Bridges. So I think he brings a lot more versatility than Bridges offensively, but he's also not the smart, situational, and switchable defender that Bridges is. But it does give them another option. At worst, I can see him being a six-man, and I think that's pretty good for this team. Ricky Rubio, a lot of people love to hate his deal, but he is a point guard that can make it easier for guys like Mikal Bridges in transition. He also can find guys like Bridges and Kaminsky and Booker easier shots. He is more aggressive than he was before, being able to knock down that mid range, showing a lot more confidence, being a solid defender, being a guy that understands his game and knows how to make players around him better and get easier shots. I think that if they would have paid him a little less, people wouldn't complain. But also, he is still a solid starter in his NBA, and I feel like they had a need for the point guard position, and they had a need for somebody that can really take some of the ball handling duties out of Devin Booker's hands and be a solid defender while also being a decent playmaker, something that they lacked on this roster last year, but they have now. And obviously Dario Saric, I'm a guy that really wanted him to find a home. I feel like he's been bouncing around a whole lot. A lot of teams gave up on him. A lot of teams feel like he's not worth the money. A lot of teams feel like he can't make a significant impact, so they're willing to let him go. I think Phoenix is going to do the opposite. They've been waiting for a guy that can play that 3-4 position that can really give them that versatility, handling the ball, getting out in transition, knocking down the spot up three as a role player, and also being able to do more than that. I feel like that's the best part about Sarge is that he can do so many things. It just no team has allowed him to do it. And you can say the same thing for a guy like Kelly Oubre before. He wasn't allowed to play the type of game that he was able to do in Phoenix. And I can see that for Sarge being able to be more of himself instead of just a spot up shooter and a guy that just, waits for the ball. And if he doesn't get it, he has to deal with it. I feel like let him play more of his game, let him be more of himself, and he can make this team a whole lot more versatile, and he can make this team have another level of versatility just because of what he brings to the table. So at the end of the day, to be honest, I see the Suns still being one of the worst teams. I feel like they have a better roster than they had last year when it comes to young talent and talent that can really fit around Ayton and Booker. They're the two cornerstones of this team, and I feel like Ayton is just going to have to be more aggressive. He's going to have to be a lot more hungrier. And if that's the case, this team has a higher ceiling in the future. But if he just decides to be a decent center, a decent starter, like he was last year and never really improved, I feel like this team is going to be at the bottom for a very long time, and it's going to come at the cost of losing Devin Booker. Devin Booker is a guy that you want to have. He's very young. He continues to improve, and he's a guy that can really take over and dominate a game. The problem is surrounding him with legitimate NBA talent that can allow him to be who he is, but also have dependable, reliable, and trustworthy teammates. So where he can really bring out the best of his game, but also have guys he can rely on to make shots and guys that can do their job in their position without relying so much on Devin Booker to create opportunities for them. And they don't have that right now. But we don't know how well Mikal Bridges is going to be in the future. We don't know what type of Ayton is going to be 2 to 3 years from now. And Devin Booker is young enough that he can wait. 3 years from now, he still will be very young. So he'll be getting another contract extension because they're going to pay him. It just, will Devin Booker wait that long to stay with a team where he knows a lot of teams will take him, and he can be a missing piece on a lot of teams that can make a legitimate playoff run or even win the title. But if he really wants to be the man, they giving him the shots, they giving him the ball, they letting him do his thing. The only problem, if he gets traded, he might not be the best player on another team, which some players like, some players don't like, but some people love it because they get all the fame when they win it. Only problem is Devin Booker been on a team that's been doing a lot of losing. So I don't really know how that's going to go. But let me know what you guys think about the Phoenix Suns. Terrible. What do you think who they should be looking for in the draft? And do you think Ayton and Booker can be a dynamic duo, or do you think they just going to be okay like they've been last year? And do you think Ayton can really turn into an all-star franchise center? Or do you think the days of the dominant big man are over, just like a lot of people are starting to say, and a lot of people are starting to go with the forwards? Even, like I said, the all-star, people trying to say it for the all-NBA. And the center position is not as important as it once was 20 years ago. And we have some new age big men that are good, but none of them are really leading teams to championships. And I don't know if Devin Booker and Ayton can be that duo that can do it. But first, they got to worry about making the playoffs, and they far from that right now. Like this video, check out my older videos on my channel. I have many playlists. I break down rookies, I break down players, I break down summer league. I do cover the draft, and I got a mock draft up already. Not only that, I do podcasts and I also talk about the game of basketball, whether it comes to summer league, free agency, trade deadline, buyouts, and also I cover top 10 discussions and stuff like that. So you like this type of video, you like the NBA, check out my older videos and my playlists. I enjoy making these videos. You guys enjoy watching.